is Derek Wittenberg, the founder and creator of 22 No More, and this is
Joshua Henderson.
Joshua is now joining our organization. He's going to be helping us get out information about PTSD and things going on as far as events that are coming up in the future, as well as he has his own site that he has started. Now, a little history about Josh.
I served 12 years in the Marine Corps, stationed in Camp Pendleton and then Quantico, turning around back again to Camp Pendleton. 2 deployments to Iraq. I served as an AAV operator, crew chief, and section leader.
I myself served 15 years in total combined service with the United States Marines and also with the U.S. Army. I also have background in journalism broadcasting with the local Iowa TV station here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The reason we're starting to reach out with other organizations like the Freedom Foundation, Joint Task Force 22, we're creating this network because a lot of us have become very disappointed in the way that not only our country but the people in the government have discredited our freedoms as veterans towards the laws, specifically towards veterans and civil liberties. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working locally with our local representatives, congressmen and senators, but also with other nonprofit organizations that are outside the purview of the United States government. Not that everything that is going on, and we've heard these horror stories about the suicides of veterans and whatnot, and the neglect. Not all of it falls under the VA. We've done some recent studies from several different sources. One of you may have seen on PBS's Frontline, all the way up to the VA studies, which many of them were outdated by a decade, especially dealing with OIF, OEF veterans. The percentages that have came out is 35% of our veterans dealing with suicide are dealing with some type of medical care. Either it's being neglected by the VA or a healthcare provider or someone that they're under the care of. That's 35%, and that's just dealing with medical issues and disabilities, which leaves roughly about 65% that are dealing with other issues. Now, the other issues are dealing with financial, economic issues, family-related issues, and then PTSD. It's easy to be politically correct and say PTSD causes you to commit suicide. No, it doesn't. There are many factors that come into that, especially dealing with matters of the Sailor Soldiers Act, which was enacted in 1940 to protect the civil liberties and the rights of active duty members of service and those that get out, dealing with things specifically with IRS, with divorces, with property, things of that nature. Many courts, especially family courts, are not recognizing this law, or they don't understand it. And there is other laws done by state to protect veterans which are not being followed through. Many of the veterans that we spoke to time and time again, and some of them have committed suicide here in Iowa, two of them just of recently in the past year. We're dealing with relationship issues, economic issues, and disabilities, and those being used against them in a court of law. Now, PTSD alone does not cause you to commit suicide, as these studies have shown that firefighters, EMT, policemen, doctors deal with PTSD as well.
My personal experience with PTSD, it's more along the lines of nightmares, night sweats. A lot of the times, if I have my nightmares, my wife tends to notice and she'll find a way to calm me down while I'm sleeping, or even the PTSD has actually got me up to sleep well. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the way the brain functions when it hits that traumatic event. It's not, you can get PTSD just basically into a car accident.
Would you say, and that's a good thing that you had mentioned, because PTSD is a lot of times misdiagnosed, because it does run alongside as traumatic brain injuries.
It can exacerbate it. It can cause it to get a little bit more than potentially what it was originally if you had a traumatic brain injury. Me personally, I haven't ran over an IED, but I have been through a shockwave when it comes to the IEDs and vehicles that were hit in front of me.
Now that's a very important thing to touch on with many of our veterans that are out there. When you're going through MEB, which is a medical evaluation board, these things need to become in consideration. So you may not be in direct fire of an IED, but indirect fire. And what I mean by indirect fire is you were in the vicinity, but say an IED went off and it was 1,500 pounds. That shock wave can affect you internally, which many veterans have, or they've gone through IED blasts. I think the emphasis that a lot of us are starting to concentrate on is exposure to stressful moments, whether you were in direct or indirect fire, which we all have experienced in one form or another. But the other thing is exposures of within combat. You mean we had fire pits, we had the disposing of human waste, things of that nature. Long-term effects with these things, and they're just now being addressed. Medication alone does not help. But having the tools to deal with these on a daily basis does help. That means talking about it, educating each other, going through this system. Because to be perfectly honest, from the studies that have been done, especially with firefighters and police officers and that, everyone that has PTSD, we'd have a lot more people committing suicide or attempting to commit suicide when you really think about it. But when you're dealing with veterans that have deployed time and time again, and what we're going in 15, 16 years, and what we're doing right now, it's taking its toll. And when you're not getting to the resources that you need, say at the VA or locally, this is where we fall short. And that's where 22 No More is going to be stepping in.
A lot of that also has to do with the old warrior mentality of just sucking it up.
Well, you deal with the sucking it up. And we all know that adage, you'll just suck it up, drink some water, and take some ibuprofen, or Motrin, whichever you choose to do. But what we are finding out now is that we can reset bones, we can give you prosthetic limbs. When it's dealing with PTSD and traumatic brain injury, we really don't know that much about it. And in the short term, it's easier to treat it with medication instead of the root issues and working on those things. Why aren't you going to work? Why aren't you doing these things? When you see someone that is frustrated, they don't have no control over their emotions. You don't know why you get angry. You don't know why some of the things you say are off. To you, they sound normal, or to another veteran they do, but to a civilian, it doesn't. And these are the things that we're going to be concentrating over here at 22 No More. And with our other organizations are concentrating on these aspects, which we're going to require you, all of you that have been following us, to chime in. Send us your comments, both family members and veterans. What works for you? What doesn't work? What would you like to be seen done? We need to address these issues so we can get them to our representatives, so we can get legislation done, so we can get the care that they need. This attitude of out of sight, out of mind, PTSD, no, it's much more complicated, and that's what we're going to be addressing.
As a veteran, we always state that, hey, if you need anything, we're there. I'm going to throw out a challenge and ask that if you are a veteran or you know a veteran, call them. Ask them how they're doing. Obviously, you're going to get the answer, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. But honestly, sit down with them. If they're not having any too bad of issues, have a drink or two with them. Ask them how they are truly doing. It means a lot, and it goes a long way.